Hey, welcome to Open Hand Farm. I'm Penny, and today we're in my apothecary that's in the basement. We have all of our herbs here on the shelf, and we're going to do a shopping trip. We're going to make a complete bone and tissue mix with several different herbs today. I have people who buy this and swear by it for even like arthritic pain, things like that. I have used it on sprains and it's amazing what it will do. We have to gather up 10 different herbs that go together to make this mixture. So let's get our shopping done and then we'll go upstairs and put it together. Okay, the first thing we need is white oak bark. And I actually had to order that in, so it's not in a jar in the apothecary yet. I'm gonna wait and see how much is left, and then I'll make a jar for it. We need Comfrey Root. These are in alphabetical order. And here is our Comfrey Root. I don't have a lot of it in here, but I did buy another bag in case we need it. We need Marshmallow Root, which is right here. We need Mullein. We have plenty of that. Black Walnut Hulls. I do have another bag of those if we need it. Gravel Root. I also ordered a new bag of that. We need Wormwood. We have plenty of that. Skullcap. No problems there. Lobelia. That'll be fine. And Slippery Elm bark right there. All right, we have what we need. So I'll meet you in the kitchen and we'll put it together. It's time to mix our herbs together to make our complete bone and tissue mixture that we can make oils and salves and tinctures out of. As I put the herbs in, I'm going to let you know what each of the herbs do for our bone and tissue health. All of these herbs have more medicinal properties than what we're using them for here. So they are not limited to only bone and tissue health. So if you end up buying these herbs to make this mixture, just know that you will have other opportunities to use the rest of the herbs. This is a recipe made on parts. So you can decide what your basic measure will be. And then for the recipe, it tells you you need 1 part of this or 2 parts of that or 3 parts of this. So my part, and if I remember correctly, the last time I made this was in 2021. So it lasted me a long time and I made a gallon of it, if I remember properly. So I'm going to stick with my 1/4 of a cup for my measure of part. If you don't want to make a gallon, then you can cut that in half and use 1/8 of a cup. But I will tell you that this not only makes oils and tinctures, but you can also use it as a soak. So if you take it and add boiling water to it and let it cool and then soak with it, it benefits you that way as well. So that's why I don't mind having more on hand than what I need to make an oil with. Our first herb is the white oak bark. The recipe calls for 6 parts of this. So I need 6 scoops, 1/4 cup scoops of white oak bark. 1. Some of this is kind of hard to scoop. It's in chunks and pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And some of those were a little shy, so I'm going to add an extra one. Now, because I'm going to be dipping this in my other herbs, I want to kind of wipe it out so that I'm keeping my herbs clean. So let me tell you the benefits of the white oak bark. Some people say that you can apply oak bark directly to the skin in a compress or add it to bath water for pain and swelling or inflammation of the skin, as well as for arthritis. So this will be great to go in our bone and tissue formula. So our next one is Comfrey Root, and we need 6 parts of this as well. This one's a little bit easier to measure. And see, I didn't think I would have enough of that, but I did. So Comfrey is well known for mending broken bones. So we know that it is a great option for this mixture, but it also contains useful carbohydrates, including one called allantoin, and it stimulates the regeneration of connective tissue, bone, and cartilage. So that is really great for being in this mixture. Our next is Marshmallow Root. This is just so light and pretty, like marshmallows. I love it. Now, if you're wondering what's on my tags on my jars, I have a video where I tell how I am labeling and what information I'm putting on my labels. So I will link that in the description box below so that you can check that out. Marshmallow Root soothes redness, relieves inflammation, and helps retain moisture in the skin, and it can relieve pain. Yet another good one to put in this mixture. Our next herb is mullein. I have lots of that. I use it for so many things. We need 3 parts of mullein. I'm looking here at my recipe, and it's funny because there's 2 marks on there. One is mullein and one is Black Walnut Hulls. And I believe the first time I made this, those were the only 2 items I had. This time I have them all on my shelf and ready to go. So mullein is in this mixture because it can help relieve discomfort associated with conditions such as arthritis, joint pain, and muscle aches. Now we're going to add Black Walnut Hulls. And we need 3 parts of those as well. Definitely need to wipe our cup after that. So black walnuts contain high concentrations of chemicals called tannins, and tannins can reduce pain and swelling. So that's why we have Black Walnut Hulls. Our next item is gravel root. I also need 3 parts of this. Don't know if I'm going to have all 3 parts before I need to open my new jar. Oh, I think we will. I'm just going to add all of that in there. Gravel root has the ability to bring calcium and other nutrients to the bone and to help heal broken bones. But at the same time, it helps to lubricate the bones as well as the muscles, the tendons, and the joints, which strengthens them. That's a great addition. And we need 2 parts of wormwood. That smells good. Wormwood has been used historically to treat pain and inflammation in joints and muscles. It is also known for increasing bone density, improving bone strength, and helping bones grow and preventing some bone disease such as osteoporosis. We only need 1 part of Skullcap. Skullcap is great for pain and inflammation. Now we're going to add Lobelia. Only 1 part. Lobelia may have inflammation and or immune modulating activity. So this might also help the side effects of muscle pain. So that will help your muscles. And our last one is Slippery Elm bark. We only need 1 part of this. I'm going to kind of set my cup there. This is kind of a weird one. So I'm just going to kind of push it in there. So that was our last one. And it may assist in managing conditions related to chronic inflammation. And if you've ever had a sprain or a broken bone, you know that swelling and inflammation is a big part of that. I'm going to try to separate this slippery elm bark. Don't want to have any without that in it. When we make an herbal solution like this for bones and tissues, we're looking for items that will help new tissue growth. It will help the reduction of inflammation. It will improve circulation. It supports the integrity and growth and repair of blood vessels. And it has antioxidants, which many of these do, to remove the waste products and keep the tissues healthy as they're healing. And we want mineral-rich herbs to support the requirements of bone remodeling. So that's why we have so many different herbs to do all those different things. Now, before I put this in a container to store it, I am going to use some of it to start an oil. And what I'm going to do is fill this jar about, half to a little over half full. Then I'm just going to fill this jar with an organic extra virgin olive oil. I want to make sure that all of the herbs are covered. I could put this in a double boiler and let it cook for a while, or in a crock pot and let it cook for a day and a half. But I don't really need this right this minute because I just made some bone and tissue salve. So I think I can wait. Some of these herbs will kind of plump up and then they won't be covered. So I like to add extra oil. And I am making a quart of this because I have people who like to buy this from me. And this way I have enough for everyone that's going to be asking me for it. This will sit, like I said, for 6 weeks. So that will be November the 6th when it is ready. And you want to make sure that the oil is in and around the herbs very well. So I like to shake it up and then look at it and fill it up again. You want every bit of that to be infused in the oil. If I think about it every day, I will tip this over and shake it so that it distributes things well and I'm able to get as much good out of those herbs as I can. I will just sit this in a cool, dark spot, probably in my pantry, along with some other things I have brewing there, and check on it periodically. So the rest of this, we're going to put in this jar that has a flip latch on it. And like I said, you can use this as a soak. You could put 1/2 cup of the herbs in 2 quarts of cold water, and then you heat it until it's boiling. Then you reduce the heat and simmer covered for 20 minutes. Let it set for 20 minutes to an hour so that it cools down, and then strain through a sieve or a cloth. And when it's comfortable enough for you to get to use it without hurting yourself, it's ready to go. If you are not soaking something that has an open wound in it, you can actually use it more than once. If you just put it in a jar and put it in the refrigerator, you can do that. If this oil is done sitting after 6 weeks, then you will strain out all of the herbs and use the oil to make salves. Now that we put the oil together, I want to go over to the kitchen, and I have just a little bit of oil left. I want to show you how to make a salve from the oil. So let's go to the kitchen and see how to do that. I only have a tiny little bit of oil, but that's all it takes. Don't feel like you can't use it if this is all you have. I'm gonna pour it into this measuring cup and just see what I've got. I'm gonna use a little spatula here to get it out as much as I can. And I have, it looks like 1 ounce. And that's really all I need. So I'm gonna take that 1 ounce, I'm gonna put it into this jar and scrape all of it out again. The recipe says 1 tablespoon of beeswax pellets per ounce. I put some water in this pan and I'm gonna set it on the stove like this. And I'm going to leave it like this and watch and stir periodically until the wax pellets melt. You don't want the water that it's in to boil, you want it to simmer. And the jar will get hot. I actually like to use something that is stainless steel to stir with because it cleans up easily, because the wax will leave a little bit of residue on whatever you're using, including your jar. You want to be careful not to crack your jar though. Don't hit it too hard. I hear a boiling sound coming up, so I'm going to turn my heat down. The wax pellets are getting soft now. They're getting a little translucent in color. And I think we are melted. And I'm going to use my canning jar lifters to lift it out and take it over to a hot pad. I'm going to let this cool just for a minute so that I can add my vitamin E oil to it. Vitamin E works as a preservative so that your salve doesn't get rancid. Now, if you start swirling it and you see white building on the side of the jar, that means it's too cool and you need to go ahead and pour it up before it sets on you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add about 5 drops and mix it together. And then I'm going to pour it into my 1 ounce jar. And I'll put my little protector on it and my lid. You don't want to tip it or twist it around or anything. Just let it sit until you know that it's hardened. You could even wait to put your lids on if you want, but I wanted to show you that you always need to label what you have. That's the worst thing, to spend all your time working on something and then you can't remember what it is. I've done it, trust me, I know. And then I like to put just a piece of Scotch tape over it, because when you start using this oil, you might get oily fingertips and you end up blending the name and you forget what it is. So I just cover it with Scotch tape and that helps protect it. Thank you so much for coming along, and I hope that I have made everything as clear as I can for you. And again, this is good for when you have a sprain, when you have a broken bone, when you have a bruise, anything like that, to rub on topically with the salve. You do not want to ingest this because it has comfrey in it, and comfrey is not intended to be ingested. Also, remember that I am not a doctor or a nurse or anything like that. I have learned all of my herbal knowledge from friends who have had herbalist training, or from friends who have used herbal remedies for their own families. as well as books that I have read or information online. This recipe came from a friend of mine, but she shared with me what book it came from, and it is Be Your Own Doctor by Rachel Weaver. And it has some really good, very simple, down-to-earth ideas for caring for your family at home. So everything that I have shared with you, I would ask that you do your own research before you put together this mixture, before you make the salve, and before you use it. Make sure that you're not going to have any allergic reactions or any reactions to medications that you might already be using. And if you are new to my channel, I am thrilled to have you. And if you are already a part of our Open Hand family, I appreciate you so much. Until my next video, blessings on you and yours.